Hi there. Welcome to the new Home Access Solutions blog. Today I'm going to talk to you about whether or not it makes sense to use ADA guidelines when you're remodeling your own home. Now, it would be easier to have a great little cookbook like the Americans with Disabilities Act guidelines. You know, you open it right up, you turn to page 5, look at illustration 35C, and voila, there's a list of everything you need to do just to make it right for you. But I've got to tell you, following the ADA guidelines like that in your own home is a recipe for disaster. The ADA guidelines are actually designed for commercial applications. They were geared toward that mythical average person with a disability. They have nothing to do with meeting the unique needs of an individual and an individual's disabilities. So if you or your remodeler are holding on to a copy of the Americans with Disabilities Act guidelines while you're planning out your accessibility remodeling, keep in mind that at best it should serve as a minimum standard for those few parts of it that have been incorporated into city codes. Now, in the greater Omaha area, that would include things like ramps. But that doesn't mean that if you build that ramp exactly the way it describes in the guideline, that everybody who uses a wheelchair is going to be able to safely and independently negotiate the ramp. Also, you can possibly use the ADA guidelines as kind of a starting place, you know, thinking about what could you possibly use in your house. But you should never use the labeling possibly ADA compliant on a product to automatically ensure that that product is going to work for you in your house. Now, the worst case of money wasted during an accessibility remodeling that I have ever seen happen to a family that did just that. A shower surround had wording on it that described it as being ADA compliant. Now, this family had a daughter in high school headed off to college. This young woman has a disability that requires the use of a wheelchair. All of her life, her mother has picked her up out of her wheelchair and put her down in the bathtub. And after the bath was over, picked her up out of the bathtub and put her back in the wheelchair. Now, mom has no intentions of going to college with this daughter. So the family, quite rightly, is thinking, we've got to remodel our bathroom so that she can practice these skills before she leaves home. They were lucky enough to have a contractor who was a friend. He agreed to help them. He goes out and he finds a shower surround and it says ADA compliant. He's so excited. He goes back to the family. They're excited. Everybody agrees, wow, this is great. He takes out their tub, puts in the new unit, did a great job. Then the problem started. Unfortunately, it was at that point that they called us. What happened was, this was one of those really nice fiberglass units. You see them all over the place. Independent living facilities, assisted living facilities, houses all over the place. The fiberglass unit with that neat little triangular wedge right there in the corner. Now, this girl couldn't get out of her wheelchair over onto that seat. So mom was still picking her up out of the wheelchair, standing in the shower, and putting her on this little seat. The other problem was the seat, wedged into the corner like this, was so small that this itty-bitty little girl, high school girl, couldn't fit on the seat and couldn't balance on it. So mom is having to hold on to her all the way through the showering process. This brand new shower unit that the contractor put in their home was more disabling to that girl and her family than the tub it had replaced. Now, it was too late for the family at this point, but if they had called us, if they had thought ahead just a little bit, there were several different types of transfer benches that would have supported this young lady's way she moved and her ability to balance for under $600. There were even several different types of seats that she could have gotten onto by herself that would have lowered her into the floor of the tub where she could have soaked. and balanced without any problems. They were under $2,000, and all of that stuff was portable. She could have carried it off with her to college. And if the family was just insistent on, upgrading their bathroom by replacing the old tub with a really nice shower surround, there were several other different types of showers that could have been picked that would have worked. This family learned a very expensive lesson the hard way. Just because something says ADA compliant, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for the individual disability. So rather than wasting your money trying to use the ADA guidelines like a cookbook for residential accessibility, I urge you to try this. Start with what your goals are. What are you trying to do? Think about your abilities. What can you do? What can your caregivers do? Consider your preferences. Take a good look at your budget. And then take advantage of the plethora, the huge amount of equipment and structural remodeling possibilities that are out there that will actually match your goals, your abilities, your preferences, and your budget. Thanks. Whatever.